The Ghost of Orion by My Dying Bride. Beautiful and elegant gothic doom slash death, accompanied with a brilliant artwork. I still have a hard time getting into their earlier material, but I'm a big fan of everything they put out since Feel the Misery in 2015. This is a gorgeous production. Amazing riffs and crushing melodies, and let's not talk about Aaron's vocals. His haunting cleans and his death metal voice is incredibly powerful. He knows perfectly when to switch. I am no doom metal fan, but really, My Dying Bride has everything I look for in the genre. Next up, Urfaust with Tafelgeist. This time the Dutch Clochards made an entirely doom record with an ambient tendency, instead of their usual mix of primitive black and doom. I certainly prefer that, but it's always great to see what intoxicating offering they will put out next, and I'm happy to say that it is as haunting as usual. And even more haunting, actually, is the new record of The Spirit Cabinet, called Bloodlines, which is the side project of Willem, one of the Urfaust dudes. This is infectious, esoteric, heavy doom with black metal tendencies, from the Netherlands of course, even though Willem is Belgian actually. Usually the word occult makes no sense to me, or it basically lost its meaning with time, I don't know. But there is no other word really that describes the music better. It is beyond dark. Okay, last doom record here, Draconian with Under a Godless Veil. Just like My Dying Bride, their older records don't click, but since Heike joined on vocals, I just can't get enough. Her voice, it's beyond beautiful, so soft and fragile, and contrasted by Anders's death voice. Again, just like My Dying Bride, they know perfectly when to switch, and the production, I can see it, not only hear it. Artwork, the flow, etc. My Dying Bride is elegant and miserable, while Draconian is fragile and beyond sad. So, my doom pick, yeah, Draconian. I'll go very fast on this section, except on my pick. So, the Black Dia Murder record called Verminous. One of the few death metal acts I keep up with, and definitely the only melodeath. I feel like it's a big step up from their previous record and an amazing artwork as always. Killer album once again. Necrovault with Totent Zug, Festering Peregrination. Took me a couple of listens to get it, but I ended up digging it. Fat and heavy, old school death metal. Don't kill me if I'm messing it up. Doesn't matter really. It's awesome even if I'm not quite sure why I like them and dislike the genre. They're German, maybe that's it. I'm not familiar with most Napalm Death's discography, but I do enjoy Apex Predator, Easy Meat, and this new one too a lot. Throes of joy in the jaws of defeatism. So diverse yet cohesive, very mature mix of death metal, punk rock, industrial with a grind foundation. And fuck me, cause this album did pretty hard. Ulcerate with Stare into Death and Be Still. Definitely my favorite title in 2020. I have no words to describe how incredibly dark this record is. Basically, I feel like the individual in the beautiful artwork. I'm getting sucked to a black hole when I press play, and when it's over, there's absolutely nothing left but void. It's not black nor death metal, it's something in between. It's both technical and extremely musical, dissonant and melodic, and the freaking drumming, man. Obviously, my death metal pick of the year. Full Virgo Moon by King Dude. I love this man's music, and this record is his return to solo action. Since for a few years he has a band, but this one he felt like working alone, and I just love it. 45's Say 666 has to be one of my favorite songs from 2020 and by King Dude overall.
On this 45 say 666.
Luke Elliott is an American singer-songwriter, pretty much underground. His new album, The Big Wind, doesn't even have an English Wikipedia page. His music is so dramatic, naked and organic sounding, just like I like it. Bonus point for having Shivered Huyem from Madrugada on vocals on the song Somebody's Man.
Things look okay from time to time.
And talking about Shivered, here's a record featuring tons of artists I love. New Man, New Songs, Same Shit, Volume 1 by Me and That Man. Side project of Nergal from Behemoth. As I said, Shivered is on vocals on a track, but also Ishan from Emperor, Jerome Rutter of Rome, Corey Taylor of Slipknot, Mastodon's Brent Hines, Niklas of Shining, and some other people I don't know. 2 bonus tracks with Primordials, Alan and Edelbjorn from Solstafir. I mean, fuck me, seriously. With this one, metalheads have absolutely no excuse to not widen their music tastes.
Tonight I'll be paying for fuck-ups to the barrel of a shotgun.
Now last year the third LP by American Football made it high on my list, and this year I fell in love with the Owens The Avalanche, the frontman's side project, or more like his main project while American Football was disbanded. It's more acoustic, but to me it feels the same, has the same spirit as any American Football record.
I should have known.
I'm no fan of happy music, but there's always exceptions to the rule, and Songhai Blues is one of them. They play, I guess it's called Desert Blues, and it's awesome. They're from Mali and they're refugees in the south of the country because of the conflict in the north for the last decade. I definitely have to mention Rob Sect's new record, The Great Flood. Waited for this one for years, and god, it was worth it. Even though I prefer their older material, this one is highly recommended for especially black metal people, since it has small influences here and there. It won't surprise me if the members end up being metal musicians, cause to this day very little is known about their identities.
It's another time to pass it on.
And my pick for this category is going to be very biased. It's the heart that speaks here. Natalia Lafourcade with Un Canto por México, Volume 1. It's a rework of her songs from various periods of her career in a stripped down, mostly acoustic way, and I adore it. So sweet, calm, and beautiful. It puts a smile on my stupid fucking face all the time. I fell in love with her music just a little bit over a year now, with her previous work with Los Macorinos called Musas, un homenaje al folclore latinoamericano en manos de los Macorinos. That translates to a homage to South American folklore music in the hands of the Macorinos. These two men. No need to explain, the title says it all really.
Voy a crear un canto para poder existir. para mover la tierra, los hombres y sobrevivir.
Very quickly I'll go through the ambient releases I enjoyed. First of all, Artwood's second release called Cosmos. Copy everything I said on last year's video and paste it. I love it. Fogweaver keeps putting quality dungeon synth with extremely soft textures. It's a massage to my ears. Old Sorcery's one long track EP called An Inkling of Void is absolutely hypnotic. Listen to it and you'll have a taste of my soul. Dim surprised me with a third record, Compendium 3, very different from the previous two. It's experimental and flirting with electronics. It's definitely the second best of the three albums and one of the best dungeon synth releases I've heard this year. And another surprise is the Rome record, completely ambient, lo-fi and instrumental, if not for samples in French on top of the music that sound like military or war speeches. It is a surprise because Rome is known as a new folk band. It's the project of Jérôme Router, by the way, who sang on the Me and That Man record. A third surprise is the swan song by Burzum called Thulian Mysteries. Varg had announced that Burzum is no more in 2018 but drops this record 2 years later, which is odd and I enjoy it a lot, but actually is more of a compilation since most tracks we can hear accompanying his videos in the Thulian Perspective channel, now unfortunately closed. And a bummer, we can hear editing mistakes in the songs like mouse clicks and such, which honestly breaks the atmosphere and fucks up the experience a bit. My dungeon synth pick has to be Distant Apparitions by Forlorn Kingdom. Old school, haunting, repetitive, just like I love it. 3 songs and each one has a main melody that goes on forever. 3 perfect, endless melodies. The equivalent of what I call an eternal melody in metal. There's still the heavy metal and black metal categories to talk about, but before that I'm quickly discussing records that don't fit anywhere because I don't listen to these metal genres or simply they're so weird that it's impossible to classify them. I'm particularly fond of Fenris's work from the 90s. He was extremely active and everything is at least amazing. You know, the Darkthrone masterpieces, the Storm record, Neptune Towers records, and Isengard. After 25 years of inactivity, if we exclude the limited 2 songs EP released in 2016, the Isengard name resurfaced with a third full length made of old recordings that never saw the light of the day. It's hard to classify. I guess the intro describes it perfectly.
Cold metal.
Igor with spirituality and distortion. I've known this project for years, but no record really clicked with me. Too experimental for me, I guess, but this one is less insane, catchier and more leaning towards extreme metal, retaining the baroque touch and adding to it actually a desert and Middle Eastern flavor. Another record with a Middle Eastern flavor is the new The Ocean album, Phaneroic to Mesozoic, Cenozoic. The follow-up to Phanerozoic, one Paleozoic, a record that made it, I think, to number 2 in my 2018 list. I believe they have both been recorded in the same sessions even. You can copy and paste here what I said about part 1 and add to it some minimal Middle Eastern vibes, especially in vocal harmonies. One of my favorite post-rock bands is an American one called Caspian, and their new record deserves a mention. It's softer than usual, but it still kicks ass. On Circles, their first release since their couple of years hiatus. Still instrumental, but I'm happy to hear Kyle from Pianos Become the Teeth on vocals on one of the 2 tracks with singing. A record I kept postponing is the new Solstafir, Endless Twilights of Codependent Love, because it's more than an hour long, and Berdramin from 2017 was very long too, and underwhelming. Hell, even the standard edition of Ota was only 57 minutes long. Indeed, this new one has some filler in it, but is a big step up from Berdramin, and for my surprise, it has some black metal parts. First time in like a decade and a half? God, that artwork has to be one of the best from this year. It is time for my pick in this category and the only folk metal record in this video, Thalassic by Ensiferum. So happy with this one, since Two Paths was a huge disappointment. Pekka was recruited as the new keyboardist and clean singer earlier this year, so yeah, no chicks anymore. Very talented guy. He brought something fresh to the band, definitely the epicness back. And actually my favorite song on Thalassic has to be One with the Sea, the slower track of the record where he does lead vocals. Time for some heavy metal like Gunnylock says and the related genres. Here's some records I had sex with this past year.
From a fire will burn through the time. Oh, golden apple of ambition. Night I'm so restless. Hey, my life to live like this.
AC/DC released Power Up just a few weeks ago and it's killer. Definitely a huge step up from the boring rock or bust, but not as excellent level of Black Ice, still one of their best this last 30 years. It's fantastic to see them all reunite for this album, and Stevie Young on guitars replacing Malcolm, rest in peace. Now 2 odd records. First one, Megaton Sword with Blood Hails Steel, Steel Hails Fire, a blood-pumping warrior-like and punky heavy metal from Switzerland with amazing nasally vocals. Nice swords, but why are you hugging the other guy? Exactly. Loving that Halas patch too. And the second odd record is Black Magic SS with Rainbow Nights, a band that clicked with me this year and I can't get enough of their unique blend of psychedelic rock and black metal vocals. And talking about Halas, actually, I'm gonna go quickly through releases from bands that basically kickstarted my love for thrash metal. Halas put out Conundrum, beautiful album, but more laid back than usual, and way proggier and less proto metal. The long awaited second full length of Eternal Champion called Ravening Iron is absolutely killer with an incredible artwork like the debut. Why the titties though?
Wonders for you. I wear its blood upon my grave. The pain of the earth.
And finally, Witch Hazel with 3 Pentecost and their infectious, bright, over-the-top, catchy Christian metal.
Tribals, they will.
Lord, I have no idea how they topped Sojourn, but they freaking did. Pentecost is basically 10 bangers, one after the other. This category is all gems and it's very hard to choose one record, but I think this is the one. With the Rainbow Nights by Black Magic SS on 2nd position.
Beware the great deceiver, angel of light. He is a roaring lion.
Okay, one group left and it's of course black metal. There are 14 records. Here's the first bunch. And another bunch quickly before talking about my favorites. Regarde les Hommes Tombés, the French band, returned with Ascension and their grandiose apocalyptic sludge-induced post-black. Phaedra and its Put Some Worship on 6 Voices Inside. Uada with Jin that brings nothing new to the table unlike the previous records, but that I still enjoy, and I'm not a fan of the artwork honestly. Have a Kruno and their new record that I won't pronounce, best pagan black metal album. Definitely, and I'm particularly fond of the group clean vocals. Not so much the production, that still is a small obstacle that prevents me from fully embracing the band. And back to France for Cenotaph with Monte Verita. The French do it better, like Wyatt Exham says. It's a perfect balance of aggressivity, atmosphere and harmony, with a melody very similar to a summoning one. Time for the absolute best, and why not start from the UK and Winter Filleth with The Reckoning Dawn and their perfect, endless, atmospheric black metal that doesn't focus on the atmosphere so much that it destroys it. Including the 3 bonus tracks, the record is an hour and 16 minutes long, and somehow I can't get enough of it. Maybe because it's the return to black metal since the 2018 album was completely acoustic, but yeah, you got it. The Reckoning Dawn is an instant replay. More Finnish propaganda after Havakruno with the True Werewolf and Devil Crisis. This is the ultimate Finnish sound to me. Everything sounds amazing. It is at the level of a Sargeist record. No surprise since the guy behind Werewolf is no other than, well, Werewolf, aka Lori Pentila from Satanic Warmaster and owner of Werewolf Records. So yeah, a veteran. Devil Crisis is very diverse but sticks to the essential riffs. I slightly prefer the second part of the album called Sight Blasphemy that starts with an awesome intro / sample that both serves as an interlude for the album and the intro for the track Chino Namida, a gorgeous black metal rendition of a Castlevania soundtrack. The amazing The Witch of My Heart and ferocious punky closer Magic Fire I love this record. A radical change of ambience here with Insomnia by A Light in the Dark. Side project from the guy from Skyforest. I said it many times, atmospheric black metal is overcrowded with boring crap. But just like Winter Feeleth, I can't get enough of this album. It touched a specific place in me, with its mix of post-black, atmospheric and I guess trap or cloud rap or dream pop, I'm not sure. The urban life aesthetics and samples, definitely stands out from the rest. Now you guys know my fascination with the modern Dutch scene, and 2020 gave me so much of it. I've already talked about the Spirit Cabinet and Jurfost, the life split between Turia and Lubertas, but there's more. Turia, the masters of harmonic dissonance, released Degen van Licht. What can I say? It's another level. It's hypnotic and transcendental, beyond dark and majestic. But as much as I adore this record and band, there's another Dutch incredible act that stole my heart. They've released a compilation of remastered early demo material and the perfect 33 minutes long Bloom. This, my friends, is Vloesteraars. I think I made it clear, it's obvious. This is my pick for this category, and I have no words to explain why. I love this one so much. I just do. I've never heard something like it before. I have been familiar with the band for years, but Bloom took me completely by surprise. Every single riff, every single melody, every single drum fill, every single crescendo, every single vocal line is exactly why I keep pointing my head towards the Netherlands. We're finally done with the list. We have Under a Godless Veil by Draconian, Ulcerate, Stare into Death and Be Still, Natalia Lafourcade, Un Canto por México, Thalassic by Ensiferum, Forlorn Kingdoms, Distant Apparitions, Witch Hazel and Pentecost, and Vloesteraars with Bloom. My pick of 2020 will appear on screen in a moment. Thank you so much for listening and watching. What a fucking year for music, it was incredible. January and February will be full of content on all my platforms before I quit. Cheers!